Moving on to the legislation, please.
Resolution number 2014-78. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Carter County Division of Senior and Adult Services for Community Social Services Program for the period of January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2016, and declaring an emergency.
May I have a motion to suspend the rules and place this resolution on its third and final reading?
So moved.
Would you call the roll, please?
Trojanski?
Yes.
Agee?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Safrati?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
No.
May I have a motion for adoption, please?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion on this? Call the roll for adoption.
Trojanski?
Yes.
Agee?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Safrati?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
No.
The resolution passed by the vote 6-0. Resolution number 2014-79, a resolution authorizing the mayor to apply to the Ohio Public Works Commission for potential grant for the funding of capital infrastructure improvement projects in the city of Maple Heights and declaring an emergency.
May I have a motion to suspend the rules and place this resolution on its third and final reading?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call the roll to suspend, please.
Trojanski?
Yes.
Agee?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Safrati?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
No.
May I have a motion for adoption?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Trojanski?
Yes.
Agee?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Safrati?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
No.
Resolution passed 6-0.
Just the one.
6-1, I'm sorry, 6-1. The one was 6-1, I'm sorry. Resolution number 2014-80, a resolution proclaiming October 31st, 2013, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as Halloween observation in the city of Maple Heights and declaring an emergency.
May I have a motion to suspend the rules and place this resolution on its third and final reading?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll to suspend, please.
Trojanski?
Yes.
Agee?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Safrati?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
No.
May I have a motion for adoption?
So moved. Second.
Any continuing discussion here? Call the roll.
Trojanski?
Yes.
Agee?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Yes.
Safrati? Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
No.
The resolution passed 6-1.
Thank you. Would you turn to your expenditures over $1,000, please? That would be 2014-88 through 2014-92. Do you have any questions or concerns? May I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Trojanski?
Yes.
Agee?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Safrati?
Present.
Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
Present.
Motion passed.
Good. We now move over to the council reports, beginning with Councilman Trojanski, District 6.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I just wanted to recap. Yesterday, I held a foreclosure prevention event at the library yesterday evening in meeting room number 2 from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Foreclosure is still going on. People are losing their homes, they're struggling to make mortgage payments, and it's no longer newsworthy, but it's still happening. So yesterday, I had the Common Police Court come out. Judge Pamela Barker did a presentation to the residents, the homeowners, and then her staff, as well as a couple agencies, came out and did one-on-one consultations with residents who are struggling with their mortgage. And so for anyone who's here tonight who's in trouble, or who knows someone who's in trouble, whether it's at church, work, a family member, or someone on the street, it's very important to know that there is still information and there's resources available to help families who are struggling with their mortgage. So there's pamphlets on the back table, so if you want to give that information, pass that information along with somebody, it's very important that we work to strengthen our neighborhoods by keeping people in their houses. So I want to share that information. The October District 6 newsletter will be available next week, so residents who live in District 6, I will be delivering that to your residences next week. The next District 6 meeting I'm having will be on Saturday, October 18th at the library in meeting room number 2 at 11 o'clock. I have 3 guest speakers. I have a representative from Southgate USA. You know, last year Southgate USA, the shopping plaza, was purchased by a new owner. So there's a lot of changes going on. It's very important that residents hear from Southgate rather than by word of mouth of what's going on. So I have a representative coming out, speaking to the residents of what the plan is for Southgate, what's happened thus far, and what they want to see happen. So there'll be a representative there, as well as Linda Wopat from the Senior Center and Director of Human Services will be there to talk about the senior levy, as well as a representative from Maple Heights Police Department. So that again will be Saturday, October 18th at 11 o'clock in meeting room number 2 at the library. And then for anyone who is interested in starting block watches in District 6, I'm having a block watch workshop. So if you want to start a block watch on your street, I'm having a workshop on Thursday, October 23rd at the library in meeting room number 2 from 7 until 8 o'clock. So if you're interested, you want to get your residents, your neighbors involved in the block watch, come out to that workshop and I'll show you how to start your own block watch. And with that, I end my report.
Thank you, Richard. Councilwoman Agee, District 7.
Good evening. I would like to thank all the speakers who spoke at the community forum. It was very informative, and I'm so sorry that a lot of residents didn't come out to hear what you guys had to say. Tomorrow, the mayor and I will be meeting with the property manager from Southgate to get an update on what's going on in Southgate in the report.
Thank you, Agee. This is Agee. Councilman Alex Adams, District 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I received a call from a resident on Dunham complaining of the stability of the traffic cameras near the school. I called the police department to give the chief a heads up. He immediately emailed me back to let me know he was aware of the problem and was in contact with the company. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
That was a good, quick response, and the resident was happy when I called her back, and I'm pretty sure the company will take care of it tomorrow. And then speaking of the speed cameras, it is a hot topic. But however, we do get calls from people who would like to see the cameras on their streets, like Turney, Schreiber, and East 141st. I noticed how fast the cars go myself while on 141st, while doing the Meals on Wheels. So Chief, I am in support of cameras, and especially on 141st Street, for as long as we can have them. A lot of residents have been calling. It's been pretty well divided, 60-40. After explain, they're getting more and more used to the cameras, and I think most of the residents here notice the speed has been coming down, and you're going to notice that on 141st. And every street that we can get them on, Turning, Schreiber, the speed will go down. If they vote them out, we're wide open. And I just hope the residents get together and talk to each other and support these cameras. It's a safety issue and a revenue issue. And I ain't lying about that. But it's a way for this city to move forward. Hearing the talk from residents about income tax, property tax. We've had a number of meetings in the forums. Information is on the back desk and has been out for the last 2 months or so. Property values, historical and projected, is on the back. And page here, and it shows Columbus and Maple Heights is a big difference. And when you read that graph, and and look at our increases, decreases in property value, you could see that there was a change for the worse. 32%, 1%, millions of dollars we have lost through the property tax, city income tax, and the state taxes. There's no way we could match that. No way. We're not Columbus, we're Maple Heights. And I hope everyone realizes that. For those that say we're going to become an East Cleveland, we're only going to become East Cleveland if you let it like that. If you let this city become East Cleveland, then it will be. I'm proud of District 1, and it looks nowhere near East Cleveland. And I think each councilman could say the same about their area. But we need the city services. We need the police department. We need the fire department. And the way we provide those services is through taxes, property tax, income tax. No more state tax, income. So think about that. We debated about leaf pickup coming. We don't have the manpower or the money. What do we do? I have to tell you, go back to bagging it. Go back to bagging it. That's why we have to pass these laws. It's no lie. It's no crap. It's the truth. That's where we're at. So please, get behind us. Support us. And about recycling, we've been talking about it. Thank you for putting it up behind the library. Paper, cardboard, St. Martin and Tours, St. Monica, and up at the service garage. Those for cans can go right next door to the service garages, to metal recycling, and you'll get paid for your cans. Bag them up, take them in there, and you'll get paid for your cans. And eventually, we'll come up with a solution to find somebody to take our plastics. But as you heard from the mayor, that waste management does burn them. They do burn up. And they're hand-picked at waste management's facility. Then I had a complaint on Forest Avenue about chickens. Neighbor said there was chickens next door. I went over and checked it out. There was about garbage behind her fence. There was. Spoke to the landlord.
Did you get eggs?
She said she was very And I spoke to the landlord. He spoke to the resident. We talked 4 or 5 times. She came from North Royalton and she didn't check the ordinance. And she didn't tell the landlord. And she just thought everybody does it. So chickens are gone, garbage is cleaned up. A resident was inquiring again about a garbage disposal bin at Lee Road bus stop. And Dennis and the service is looking into it, and there should be one there shortly. Had a resident for Attorney Road call me. A person moved in the middle of the night in the house, and she was wondering if there was an occupancy permit for that house, for that resident. Turned it over to Darrell, and he's taking care of it. The only main issues that I still have and ongoing for the last 7 years is garbage coming out early, cans left out later, and high grass, just a few, but District 1 is looking good. I keep going back to the same houses with the garbage, leaving my letter telling them to remove it, take it in a bag, and abide by our ordinance. But it still goes on. Very few, but it does happen. So maybe another couple of years they'll realize we have that ordinance, unless we get them a ticket. I don't want to see that happen. In the neighborhood news, there's the cameras, and it has the times that they'll be functioning. So get a copy of the neighborhood news in the back or at the stores, and there are the times when the cameras will be in effect. Ms. Kimberly Brown, I thank you for your support on our levies, and I know you realize how bad we need it. You know just exactly how these things work. So I thank you. End of report.
Thank you, Alex. Councilwoman Tony Jones, District 2.
Good evening, everybody. And I also, too, want to thank Ms. Brown from the Brown Report for supporting our levies and to put a really nice article in her newspaper this month. I'm not sure exactly how to address your question about the construction of the schools on Dunham Road, but at the time, and I think it's probably best to go to a school board meeting for some of the addressing of some of the issues, but at the time the 3 schools were built, they were anticipating buses to go through. And by the time the schools were built, the schools were getting less and less money, and a lot of the buses stopped. And that's when more and more cars came in. And I represent District 2, so I have part of Dunham, I have all of Greenwich, I have Glenwood, I have Morning Star, Evening Star, Dunbury, and I hear you. I did send an email not too long ago to the police chief, and he'll probably help you address some of the issues, but I do think that some of these concerns have to come to the school board in order for them to see if they can squeeze out some money somewhere for additional auxiliary police, and that would be a good issue. Mr. Pollack, I would think that at one point in time we did discuss, when we were talking about reducing recycling or eliminating recycling, we did talk about trying to put a dumpster either east side, west side for glass and plastic, and it actually at that time wasn't financially feasible for the amount of people that were actually doing the recycling. So we could re-look at that. If we could get more people involved, more people want it, and hopefully if financially we turn out to be a little bit better, that is something that could be in the future. I mean, right now, whatever's cut doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be 5% of what? Giving me a cheat number.
5% of the residents participates in recycling.
Only 5%? I think we were a little higher than that. 10? 5, 10, 20, pick a number, any number. It has to increase. That would be the bottom line. We have to have more people care about the environment, and then maybe we could also help you care about the environment. So it could be something that we could work on. We did have a resident that came up to the podium, I'm not sure it was from Anthony's district, and she did a diligent search as to where different things can be dropped off. And unfortunately, there's not a place for plastic or glass. So, I mean, we tried, and we're still gonna, it's not a dead issue. It's just a temporary little snag, I think, and I'm hoping that this is gonna come back, because I know a lot of people would like to do that. I want to thank the police chief for, it's been almost a month now that each individual council member are getting the call logs from the police station. And it's nice for us to know what's going on, and for us to also then alert our residents if there's any kind of patterns that we see, if there's theft. One thing that's a little bit disheartening is they do go on a lot of calls. Would you say 1,964 calls? Some of those calls that we're looking at in the logs are because kids aren't doing their homework. Kids actually storm out of the house and mama don't know where they're at, so they call the police. I think that we need to be a little bit more responsible in what we use the police for. Because if they're going out on a call and they have to probably address each call, because you never know if it is an emergency. But what if there is an emergency and they're someplace else? I'm going to jump on Richard's invitation. On October 23rd, he's having a how to do a block watch meeting at the library at 7 p.m. And I'm going to invite my residents from Greendale that have expressed interest in the block watch. And I think if we combine anybody that might be looking for a block watch to start, instead of having the police department come to each one of our meetings and we have a group meeting and then we can break down into different districts, I think that would work out. So that's something that I'm planning on doing. One of the things that I've been charged with is driving the city looking for a count of vacant properties. And I do that in my day job, so I'm just an extension. I'm also looking to identify any homes that might be candidates for demolition. And if anybody out there wants to help me or address anything that's on your street that maybe I could have missed, or if you want to hear the history or why or what's the status of the property, like is it tax delinquent, if it's vacant, if it's going through a foreclosure, I could let you know that. So I would really appreciate the help of other eyes on the street to let me know. The hardest part that I have is driving Rockside, and I did okay on Raymond. Rockside, I almost got hit twice. And on 141st, I came actually to council meeting down 141st, and I saw the camera. And I was so glad because I was able to cruise the street and see the camera. So I'm on 141st, and I'm doing the one side of it, and I have my flashers on, and I'm on the opposite side. I don't know what direction that is. And I'm just like trying to write down addresses. And you know when cars go by and they go, well, my goodness, I don't know how many, you can feel your whole car shake. And that's unacceptable in a residential neighborhood that has kids. I feel sorry for the people trying to back out of their driveways. I mean, you have to like gun it out of there, put it in drive, and get the heck down the street before somebody rear-ends you. And then there might be periods of time where there's like calm, but it's not that often. So I really do hope that it works. I did witness that today, just driving. People think it's live, but it's not. But it was just good because people were driving slowly. And if that's just an indication of somebody's watching you, just if it's a reminder, we're not trying to do this to actually penalize people. Two things about the levies, just really quick, and you're going to be levied to death by the time everybody gets through with you. But the levies are property tax, and they're on for 5 years. And they're for the senior center. Thank you very much for supporting us. And the other levy is for operations. Now, we're also doing the cameras for a safety effect, which you're going to clearly see if you drive down. I invite you next week or in 2 weeks to drive down 141st and just watch everybody crawl. You're able to see how nice the houses are maintained down the street instead of just whoosh. And nobody's going to have to make me do this again in my car, which is awesome. The money that we're raising inadvertently from the cameras, because we do say that safety does come first, and we have asked, I mean, 2 of us on council have asked the mayor probably about 3 or 4 years ago for us to put a camera on Granger Road and a couple of places where we saw that there was a lot of traffic, and nobody wanted to do that. But now since we have them, they do generate income. They generate enough of income. So it's something that we need to have. We need to catch up on our bills. We need to catch up in our deficit. The property tax, we're not really going to see until 2016 in full because taxes are a year behind. So thank you for voting for them, but next year is still going to be skinny. And speaking of skinny, if you have a computer and if you want to go to Skinny Ohio, I think it's .org. It's sponsored by the state auditor. It's a website that's trying to promote Ohio getting skinnier, not like by eating less, but by consolidating services. And they know that they're cutting us, and they're forcing us to consolidate services. And yeah, it might be easier to think than do, But when we have Maple Heights, and we have Garfield, and we have Bedford, and we have Bedford Heights, and we have Warrensville, and we have the city of Cleveland, we each have our own taxing districts. A lot of our employees have their own unions. And for us to share and to consolidate and to do things is going to take a lot of negotiation. Because if we pay taxes, are we going to want to actually have our tax dollars, so to speak, go to help a neighboring community? So we have to figure out a way that's going to work out for the benefit of everybody. And they're going to pretty much, I would probably say, if I could predict something, in the next 5 years, it is going to be something that is going to be necessary, but it can't happen overnight. I work in the city of Cleveland for a community development corporation, and just because of our cuts, we're merging with another organization, and that's just 2 little neighborhoods. But it's taken 2 years just to go through board changes and just financial responsibilities and just to merge our budgets together. So this is something that we are going to have to go through. But in the meantime, we do need to have some sustainability. And I'm really sorry, I don't want to talk too long, so thank you for listening.
Thank you, Tony.